So just a little bit of housekeeping before Noralie comes on stage. Noralie will be signing books. She's got copies of her new book, Free Ride. After the talk, if you would like to get a copy of the book signed, please do head over to my right, which is your left, around here to buy a copy of Noralie's book, and then loop around, join the queue over here, and you can get the book signed. Now, she has brought with her a good number of boxes of the book, but I'm sure there's going to be lots of demand. So when the books do run out, Noralie will be having to dash off. But that's once we finish. Over here to my right, your left, to buy your copy of the book. Over this way to get it signed. We all got that? Fantastic. Last piece of housekeeping. There's always one. Someone has parked their motorcycle in the most inconsiderate of places. There is a Fantic 250 over here, right in the middle, where we want Noralie to sign some books. So whoever's bike that is, you don't need to wait. There he is! Hooray! Round of applause! Good man, thank you very much. Wow, what a good sport. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to pop up. 2 minutes time, Noralie's going to be on stage. Wow, look at this crowd. Incredible.
Hey James.
Hello Noralie. Welcome to the ABR Festival. It's been 2 years, 3 years since we've had 2 years since we've had a chat on stage. It's wonderful to see you. You have done more in that 2 years than I will probably do in a lifetime, which, you know, I'm impressed by, but also makes me feel a bit bad about myself. But hey, what can you do? It's so good to have you back at the ABR Festival, it genuinely is. When I saw you were coming, I was so pleased. These guys are pleased, aren't you? And I wanted to start by, well, congratulating you, because since the last time I saw you, not only you are probably the world's most popular YouTuber, but you're also a best-selling author!
Thanks to all of you, to be fair. Thank you.
It feels good to get that book finally in your hands. Do we come this way a little bit from the camera? Did it feel good to finally have that book in your hands?
Yeah, it feels very unreal when you first get like the first copy and you're just like jumping around the room on your own. So, but I'm more happy that, you know, everybody else can read it too. And did any of you already read it? Good. Did you like it?
Would you recommend others buy it? Yes? So I'd like to talk about the book, because I think it's an awesome thing to have done, and to become a best-selling author in the process as well. So could you let everyone know why you decided to write a book? What motivated you to do it at this point in time?
Well, since I was a small kid, since I could actually write my first words, I always wanted to be a writer. That was my big dream. I wanted to be a writer, and somewhere along the line, you know, I kind of went down a different path, and I became a biologist, and then a geologist, and then threw all of that out of the window, and then became a YouTuber. And but now, finally, I did write a book. So for me, it was a really long dream that finally happened, and I guess I just had to ride around the world on a motorbike first to actually have a story to tell, to write about. So yeah.
What a story that you do tell. When you finally got that book in your hands, because you said you had to ride around the world, then you had to sit down and get it down all on paper. When you finally got that copy of that book in your hands, which is your life, what does it feel like to have your life in your hands?
Rather terrifying, because the thing is, for me, on YouTube, there's always I feel like there's a very clear divide in what is Itchy Boots and what is Noralie. So I feel like when I'm, you know, writing and making my videos, I am Itchy Boots. But there's of course also a private part that I always feel like, okay, this is mine, you know, like I feel like you don't have to throw everything about your life on the internet. And so when I started writing the book, I kind of had the same idea, like, okay, you know, there's a divide, but I don't quite know what happened, but apparently when you start writing, or at least when I start writing, things started coming out that I was like, what am I typing? What am I typing? And it became a lot more personal than I intended it to be. And so it was quite an emotional process actually for myself to actually now write all of this down, because it's part of the story of why I started doing all of this, which came from kind of a sad time that I always kept to myself. I always kept that very private, but now it's in the book, so oops.
There's a flaw to the logic there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Has anyone been watching Norali's journey through the UK on YouTube? Yeah,
Do you like it?
I put my hand up there too. Really enjoyed it. One of the moments I loved was your excitement at taking the book to, I'm going to pronounce this correctly hopefully, the Bodleian Library in Oxford. Oh my God, how amazing must that have felt?
Yeah, that was really cool, because so my idea was, okay, I'm gonna pause my journey towards Japan for this book tour, and so I'm gonna pause this journey, do the book tour. So I have these book events and then coming here. But I was like, I need something more, something fun to do while I'm here. So I had this. So apparently, when you write a book, then the publisher will send you like some free copies to give to like your friends and family. And I decided, you are my friends and family. So I brought those copies with me, and I've just been laying them like on a free book market. So I've been kind of like putting out little free books, and I've been dropping into bookstores to do like little to just ask like, do you have my book? And then if they say yes, then I sign it. So, but when I was thinking about, okay, where can I drop like free copies? Then I had to think about, it's a super famous library. What I actually didn't know, I only knew that later, so then I felt a little bit embarrassed, but it turns out that that library has every single copy of every book published in the UK. So it's not really that special. It has like 13 million books, and either way, my copy would have ended up there anyway, because that's just what they do. They store every single book published in the UK. But anyway, it was still cool.
There's going to be a big demand for your book, so 2 copies is better than 1.
Yeah, there will be 2 copies now, yeah.
And did you say you've been dropping them off at various parts of the UK?
Yes.
So if you pop into a shop and pick up free write, it could have been personally delivered by you?
Yes, and in, what's day today? Saturday. In tomorrow's video, I dropped one in, I'm obsessed with your red phone boots. I find them hysterical. And I found one that had a library inside. I drove past and I'm like, what? So there's also, I dropped my book in one of those, but you'll see tomorrow where the location is. If any, no, that's not going to be you then, right? Who's going to pick it up. But if somebody is leaving tonight or tomorrow, going back towards Wales, then if you pick it up, then please let me know that somebody found it.
We'll carry on for a second. So motorbikes are pretty fast. So there could be a stampede of people heading to North Wales. Don't finish our festival early, please, Dorothy. Please don't.
Sorry, no, stay here. Stay here.
So in the introduction to Free Ride, you spoke about on YouTube. You hadn't previously shared some of the scariest and most vulnerable moments from your journeys because you were afraid of how people would respond, which sounds to me quite natural. So did it feel quite liberating to share those things that perhaps you've been keeping to yourself?
Yeah, so it turns, I still struggle with, I've gotten a little bit better over the years, but I still struggle with it that when something goes wrong, which is totally my own fault, it is really difficult to keep on filming yourself. And in a way, this does not make any sense because I do my own editing, so it doesn't matter what I film. I can always decide to just cut it out and nobody will see it. But even knowing that, it's still my very first primal response when I make a mistake. I'm like, all the cameras off. I'm like, nobody is seeing this. So I literally feel like all of you are watching live through the camera, like I feel like everybody's looking at me. So I'm like, no, nobody needs to see this. So I did that a lot in the first season. And also, I don't know, it is quite difficult to film yourself when you are just scared shitless. Sorry, excuse my French, but I think that is difficult. So I did struggle with that. But that's why I think now, with writing a book, I kind of finally had the opportunity to really make the story complete. So what is on YouTube is only part of the story, and now I feel like my life is complete.
Did you think twice about writing some of those entries?
No, I mean, I do think once I've written a sentence, it's gonna stay. Like, don't write words that you're gonna delete again, so, yeah.
That's probably a good lesson for life. Don't say words you want to delete later as well.
Exactly.
That's it. So, is anyone here from London? There's a few. I lived in London for a few years, and I know it pretty well, but I loved seeing your tour of London. It just threw fresh eyes. The enthusiasm for it was incredible, especially the policeman who stopped to just say, hi, I watch your videos. How have you been enjoying the UK?
Yeah, so the London thing, it was, I mean, this was absolutely crazy, and this is why I normally don't do this. So, you know, like now I've been bringing out 2 videos a week. So, but to be able to always have Wednesday, Sunday ready, scheduled, on time, I need time, you know. There's days that there's no internet, there's days that I'm sorting out other logistics, there's days that the weather is so bad I can't ride. So my content is, it's obviously never live, but it's also not like one day late. It's impossible to get this done, you know. So normally I make sure that I have enough time ahead, also for my own safety, and also in case something goes down in a country, it's better if I'm already out of the country, you know. Like, for example, did anyone watch that video in Nigeria with the police? Yeah. So that went completely viral, and I was getting death threats after. So because people thought because I filmed corrupt police, it was my fault that they got fired. But I was getting serious threats. So in that sense, I was really happy that I was already outside of Nigeria. I'll never be able to go back there, but I don't really think I want to anyway. That was pretty intense. Where was I going with the story? I'm getting a little bit distracted here.
We were enjoying London.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so, but for London it was a different story because I picked up the bike on Saturday at 2 p.m. That was the King's birthday. That was the 14th? No, which date? You must know this. The trooping the colours.
Any patriots here?
Yeah. Anyway, I had no idea that this was happening. So I picked up the bike at 2 p.m., start riding around filming. The next day, morning, again, film more, go back to Airbnb, edit, process the video, and then it was finished at 7:30. I was like, I'm in the UK, internet's gonna be fast, so I'm like, uploading. Oh my god, it was like 1 minute for 1%. So I was like, oh, this takes like an hour and a half. I'm like, oh, this could not be possible. So I am literally running around London with my laptop, you know, popping into restaurants and like checking, can I please use your Wi-Fi? Is it any fast? So it was a nightmare. And then I finally had it uploaded at 9:30. And then, you know, already the next deadline was coming up because that Wednesday I already somehow needed to produce another video. So it has been a little bit stressful, but the thing is, like, for the London video as well, like in some countries where I go to, all I really have to do is make sure that the cameras are on. And the people or the country will provide the entertainment, you know? Like, I'm pretty convinced, like, okay, some crazy thing will most likely happen anyway. That's the case in some countries, and I don't really have to worry so much about researching places or like thinking about what story I'm gonna tell you. But for the UK, I was like, okay, maybe I need to prep myself a bit more. So there was a lot of, I did on so much research on like, okay, I have a very limited time in London. I need to, you know, go past all these sites. I'm so distracted. So I had to be like super efficient to, in as little time as possible, film as much content and pretend that I know what I'm talking about. And I made many mistakes because I was like, this is Westminster Abbey, and I was pointing at the House of Parliament, I think.
It's close, it's next door.
I try my best. But anyway, normally I really don't like cities. I'm not a city person, but I absolutely love London. Like I had a great time. It's a fabulous city, and I only saw a very small part of it, but I would like to go back.
I'm glad our local Bobby was more friendly than the Nigerian police.
No, the police were so polite. Actually, also that one police who was like apologizing that there was a road closure for the king, you know, and he's like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, you are so nice. Like, super polite.
Us English like to apologise for everything. If we walk down the street and bump into someone, we will say, "Oh, sorry, I'm actually sorry."
Yeah.
It's good. And when you were in London, you met up with Charlie Mormon of the Long Way Round fame.
Yeah.
Many of us are fans of Charlie here, aren't we? I love Charlie. You sounded like actually he was someone that you've followed and had quite a thrill meeting him.
Yeah, well, I actually mentioned the Long Way Around in the book because I never heard of them when I started doing my thing. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe that I like invented this whole thing of riding around on a motorbike or something. But I just had this idea of like, okay, I have this motorbike, let's ride it to the next country. And then in Myanmar, that was the first time I met other people doing this, and they were all like, "But have you seen the Long Way Around?" And I was like, "No, who are they? Like, didn't we just invent this?" Obviously not. So it kind of that opened, this kind of window that I started reading. Like, oh, there's this whole world out there. There's all these people doing this. This is amazing, So then I kind of really started learning that adventure motorcycling is actually a thing.
And it's a very popular thing as well.
Yeah, that a lot of people like, so that's perfect.
And what's it feel like coming to the UK? It's a country you know a little. Just getting recognised randomly in the street because your life is usually ride a bike in your helmet, edit in the evening, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit. I don't deal with it so well all the time, and so it's also part of the reason why maybe I try to go to more obscure countries where I'm pretty sure nobody knows who I am, because also for me. I really like to meet local people, and I like to meet strangers who have no idea who I am, I don't know who you are, and you have like an equal like playing field, there's no preconceptions about anything. I really enjoy that. So I try to find countries where there is. I mean, it's not that everybody knows me, obviously, but in the United States, it was pretty intense sometimes.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Constantly, hiding the motorbike, hiding myself and stuff.
Americans are less polite.
No, they're really polite. It's not about that, but it makes it different. Like I already feel conscious. When you're walking around. I mean, you look ridiculous if you walk around with a selfie stick, and you don't see that because from the other side of the camera it looks normal. But I'm walking around, doing this, looking at myself. So that's bad enough, but if then like people are watching you like, oh, I can't do it, I just want to sink into the ground. So it kind of makes the job more difficult because ultimately, I mean, I like to, on YouTube, I like to make this look like this is just for fun and it's a great adventure and I'm just like tootling around and then magically there's an episode coming out. But that's of course not really the case, This is all I do. I have no life outside of doing this. I don't see friends. I don't have hobbies. I am 24/7 doing this, researching the whole thing that kind of comes of like running this sort of production on your own. So I lost my train of thought.
That's bad, but thank you very much for doing it because we all thoroughly enjoy it, don't we?
I was saying, so for me, it's a job. This is my job, and I try to do my job well and create that my work is of a level that you enjoy watching, and that I am proud of that I think is at least good enough to put on the internet. So for me, it's very much a job, and that sometimes makes it more difficult to just stay in like work mode, and because my brain is the only thing my brain is doing is like. Which angle am I filming? Oh, the sun is there, so maybe this is a good time to fly the drone, or or I should use this angle, or I should narrate this, and that's kind of going on behind the scenes. But I don't want to ruin the magic, So I leave that
behind the curtain. Does anyone here trail ride here in the UK? Ride their bikes off road? Not off road, sorry, or green roads. They're notoriously difficult to find in the UK. It's a bit of a dark art finding byways to ride. Watching your videos, you seem to have no trouble at all stumbling across some pretty cool trails.
Yeah, but apparently also one illegal one.
One or two illegal ones.
Oops. Yeah, but I was like, but there was no sign that it wasn't allowed. Or when it says unsuitable, that doesn't mean not allowed. Right? Let's go for it.
Did you enjoy the trails?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. So that I think yesterday I also mentioned it a little bit. I was really curious what I was going to think about writing here because, yeah, I mean, the last years I've only written in like more difficult countries or like, West Africa was really tough, and then, the accident, and now the ride through the Middle East, and, what went down in Iraq, and then with the bike, and like, it's been really intense, and the whole thing in Yemen with all these guns everywhere, but I thrive on that, I love it. It's just, it's such a rush, so I like to kind of be like slightly scared all the time, and then just do it anyway. So I was kind of like, oh, but what is going to happen when I come here, I'm going to be like, it's so pretty everywhere, and like, it's so nice everywhere, the people are so nice.
It's Cotswold villages.
Yeah, the police doesn't bother me, so I'm like, how am I going to find this? But I am loving it, I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, now I realize it was a really good idea to do this now, have this kind of intermezzo of a really beautiful, nice place with nice people, before I go back to like the more difficult, places.
Before the danger zones.
Yeah, before the guns are everywhere again.
So when I was watching the last 2 or 3 videos of yours, I'm sure you guys did as well, I heard a phrase for the first time that as an Englishman I've never heard before, and that was a pilgrimage to the White Cliffs of Dover. And you
Sorry, I'm such a nerd, but like, who doesn't like rocks?
For us, a pilgrimage to the White Cliffs of Dover is catching an early ferry to disappear off somewhere far more exciting. Tell us about your pilgrimage.
But it's so pretty. Didn't you like the cliffs? It's amazing, like. Oh.
Why was that such a moment for you?
Well, because I have a background in geology, so like the White Cliffs of Dover are like textbook material, like you learn about that in like university. Maybe you didn't realize that, but in the Netherlands we learn about the White Cliffs of Dover. So for me it has always been like, this is a place I really like to see one day. And now I did.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I loved it, it was fantastic. You should all go and see and look.
It's safe to say when we announced that you were coming to the ABR Festival, everyone, including myself, was very excited. I don't know when we spoke, but you said it would be nice to have some questions from ABR readers, festival goers. So we put a call out to people online to ask you questions about your travels, and we said we'd name check the people whose questions got asked. So I'd like to go through a few, is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so from Gary Tyler. Is Gary Tyler here? Oh, he's missing out. He's missing out. Watch the video. Gary wanted to know, how has your approach to filming and storytelling evolved since your first season?
Well, if you remember the first season, the videos were really bad. And now they are, they're fine. I always know like it could be way better, and there's people on YouTube that I've followed and I'm like, wow, they really do amazing stuff, and what I do feels so amateuristic to it. But for me, I'm happy at least with the progress that I made. Like when I started, I never created a video in my life, and I had the one GoPro and no editing skills, and everything was off. The music was too loud and not fitting, and yeah, it took me 7 hours to edit a 3-minute video. And then if you look now, my episodes are about 20-25 minutes, and I use, 4 different cameras. I do a drone and try to mix that all together, and the editing that now takes me about like 5 hours of editing, and then still come like the processing and everything around it, but like pure editing about 5 hours. So I've gotten much faster, yeah, I think that at least I hope that also the storytelling has also improved. But yeah, well, I would hope that after like 700 episodes I might be a little bit better at it.
You say you've got faster. Do you feel a little bit more pressure now when you're editing your videos to when you started?
Yeah, sometimes, the only time that I hate editing is when I know that nothing really special happened in that episode. And I'm looking at my computer and I'm just thinking, oh, how am I going to turn this into like an engaging thing, Because yeah, it's all real, and like on some days nothing just really happens, and then I really feel the pressure of like, it feels like the bar is just being raised all the time, and like every episode has to be better than the previous one. I'm like, oh no, how is this gonna be good? and then the thumbnail is going to be super clickbaity to try and at least still have people to watch it. So that makes it hard. But if I have a day where I know, interesting things happen and I manage to film cool stuff, then I'm just so excited. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to edit it, and then I'm just so happy to do it then. And then when it's finished, then I'm like, oh, I can't wait for them to see it. So that's always good.
Are you ever sad at the things that you sometimes have to leave out, because there's just too much good stuff?
What do you mean? Leave out good stuff?
Yeah, do you ever have to leave out good stuff because you just had the best day?
No, when it has the best day, then I cut it in 2 episodes, and then even happier. And I'm like, yes, 1 day of filming, 2 episodes, that's a week of content. Oh, then I'm super happy.
Good stuff, good stuff. These questions were chosen a little bit at random, so the next one's slightly unusual, but Jim Gilliam. Jim wants to know, do you carry an emergency tin of food in your panniers?
No. I don't know why. Yeah. No, I don't. In that sense, maybe after these years, I'm still very ill prepared. Yeah, no, I don't. No food.
No food.
No.
All good. So Neil Mesky wanted to know, what do you enjoy doing more now, writing or writing? Now you're a best-selling author.
Now, the comparison is not really fair because it's not really the writing or the writing. Then it would be video making, I think, or writing, because nothing beats riding a motorcycle, right? So that's not really a fair comparison. But right? But I love it both. I love writing, but yeah, I also still really enjoy the video making. I don't know, I don't know what's wrong with me, but like when I was studying and doing my previous jobs, I always thought that I was more. Do you have this distinction between alphas and betas in terms of like, yeah? So I always thought I was more of a beta, like I did science and like that sort of thing, and I never saw myself as a creative person. I was like, I'm not creative at all. And now I started to realize that I actually really love to create, and whether it's in video making or writing, and sometimes I announce, or sometimes there's a small break on the channel, and then always when I take a small break, I always feel very relieved. I'm like, oh, I can have a break, I don't need to think about the next episode, and then, but already then after a few weeks, I'm kind of like I miss the creating, I miss making something, whether it's in a video or writing. So it's 50-50.
Do they both come quite easily to you, or is one of them harder than the other?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I think as long as you have a good story to tell, it's always easy. But so also for the book, for example, I was like, for example, the bit in the book that I crossed Myanmar and Thailand, nothing really happened there, or I didn't really have so much to say there. So I really struggled with that bit in the book as well. That I was like, what am I going to write about it? What is the angle that I want to use for these countries? So it's the same. As long as the stories are good, then it doesn't matter what format I'm trying to tell it.
Good stuff, good stuff. This one is anonymous, because probably the person's handle was unrepeatable or didn't make sense. But do you see yourself writing more books when you stop travelling? If you stop travelling?
Well, I've already started my second book.
Hey, way!
So, yeah. But in Dutch. So I'm hoping to release the second book next year in Dutch. And then it may, hopefully it will get translated again, of course. But don't say stop traveling, because that's very scary thoughts. No. Okay. Last year, after I had the accident in Tanzania, I suddenly found myself in the Netherlands for 5 months, mostly recovering from the lung thing. And it was the longest period of time I spent in the Netherlands in like 15 years. But when I just left Africa, like that journey broke me a little bit. It was so tough in so many ways, and I really started to think like, maybe I am done. Maybe this is it. I am tired. That was really tough. So I was like, maybe it's it. And then I found this myself for 5 months in the Netherlands, and well, already probably after month 2, I was crawling up the walls, thinking, no, I can't. And that's a part that I also try to talk about in the book a little bit. Is that before I started DigiBoot, I've always been a traveler, so I already traveled to 70 countries on my own before I started doing it on a motorbike. So the traveling part has always been there with me, and I've never been able to stay in one place for a long time. And I mean, I am itchy boots. I cannot bloody stay in one place, you know. And it's like during the journey as well. Often that sometimes I'm really tired after a really difficult day of off-road or mud or whatever. And if I then get to a place which is nice and comfortable, I'm like, okay, it's a good bed. There's internet. There's a hot shower. I like it. And then I think I'm gonna stay here and rest. And then the next day I'm like, okay, let's go. You know, I am just always so like the curiosity is so strong that I just need to keep going and there's always more to see, more to explore. So yeah, I hope to keep on going for as long as possible.
I take it you've never done a Netflix binge then? That would be a no. Just hold on, going on for a while. We've got another question here from Daniel Jones. It's all about the motorbikes. You love travelling by motorbike, and it shines through so clearly in your videos. Daniel would like to know, do you prefer older motorcycles, or do you prefer newer motorcycles with a little bit of technology and some creature comforts?
Yeah, for me it's always the motorcycle that you have at the moment in that adventure is always the best motorcycle. You know, that is your partner. You know, that's the motorcycle that's going to take you through all of the challenges and all the barriers that you can find on your way. So you better like that bike. You know, build a relationship with the bike. It's just going to be your only friend if you travel alone. You know. So obviously now that I'm riding. You know, I do have a little bit of a problem calling it a vintage motorcycle because it's the same birth year as me. So I've got it's the same when I say like, yeah, I'm riding an old motorcycle. And I'm like, I don't really want to say that, but anyway, 1987. So now, of course, I'm in total love with this motorcycle, and it's just an absolute joy to ride. You know, it's. What I always think is that if you look at your motorcycle, you need to feel that, you know, you need to get a feeling of like, ooh, you know, I'm gonna go on a ride. You know, it needs to, you know, it needs to be exciting. And I think because this motorcycle is really quite special, and there's so much done on it, and it's so one of a kind. You know, it cannot be replaced. And that was actually the reason why I put an AirTag in this motorcycle, because I thought if something goes wrong with this motorcycle, it cannot be replaced. You know. And then, yeah, the bike got stolen in Iraq, and I only found it back because of the AirTag, so that really saved me. And then when I came to the UK, I was like, maybe I should also put an AirTag in this one, and there you go, wheels! Yeah, but found it back again, so, yeah.
That's good. How did you enjoy the transition to the Tenere 700 that you've been riding around the UK?
Yeah, that change is massive, and I think I said it yesterday as well. You would hope so, right? After 40 years of developing a motorcycle, you know, it should be, you know, handling better. It should be, you know, an improvement in most parts. And I do think so. Like, I have to admit, it handles easier than Frankie behind me. But the reason why I went for Frankie is because it is lighter. So now that I tried this T7 and I tried it on some trails and off-road, it is heavy. And for some reason, I don't know if that happens to you, but it's always, when I am on the trickiest parts, the tank is always filled to the brim. You know, like, why can't I never arrive there with a nearly empty tank and like have at least a little bit of weight, but it always has a full tank. And yeah, I'm really scared to drop the T7 because I don't know if I manage to, well, hopefully I can pick it up, but that's the thing with motorcycles, it never falls down on a nice flat surface, you know. It's always freaking upside down in a ditch and very difficult, so, yeah.
You don't want to end up upside down in a ditch. Definitely not. Okay, our next question is from Kiki Wrights, who asked, how do you balance riding time with the need to edit video, work on social media, and do everything you need to do to be itchy boots?
Yeah, well, yeah, I already touched on that a little bit. It's just I don't do anything else. It's just, yeah, it's all I do. And I do like to always ride full days. I'm not someone who likes to ride for like a few hours only and cover a little bit of distance and then stay again. Like, if it is a riding day for me, I prefer it to be from morning until late afternoon and ride, you know. I don't like to stop either. Like I'm terrible at like stopping for photos. I hate it. When I'm on the bike, I just want to keep going, no stopping, keep going for as long as possible. And on Frankie, that's actually really nice because the tank is absolutely massive and I get like a 400-kilometer range. On the T7, my range is much less, maybe also because I ride a bit faster on the T7. But yeah.
Good answer.
That's it.
Excellent. So the next question is from Wayne Hughes, who was curious to know what's the hardest and the easiest border crossings that you've done?
Okay.
Done a few.
Yeah, there were a few. Like I think the hardest were the ones getting from Iraq into Iran and then back from Iran back again into Iraq. Those were really tough. And yeah, it's just in some I don't know why they make it so complicated. You know, it seems to be like a rule. Like a border crossing has to be complicated and confusing, otherwise it doesn't count. Or I don't know why they do it, but you're literally running around. I think it took me 8 hours to cross from from Iran back into Iraq, and it was not 8 hours of waiting to be let through. It was literally 8 hours. I felt like I walked a marathon of like running here, getting a pink paper, running there, paying something, running there, getting a yellow paper, and it was just for 8 hours straight. That's the procedure, and you wonder like, how does this work? I don't know, but that was a really tough one. And also because, okay, I didn't actually share this anywhere. I knew, so when I was there, Iraq decided to do a population count. So they announced, we are going to close the entire country, both the outside borders and all the inside borders. It was really like going back to COVID times. Everybody had to stay home, and then somebody was going to go home by home to count how many people lived in Iraq.
How long did you think that would say?
3 days.
3 days.
So 3 days. And I heard about it. I was like, you have to be kidding me. And at that time, I had just crossed into Iran because I had a little bit of a visa problem, right? So to really cross Iraq, I had to go quickly into Iran, ride a little bit in Iran, and go back to Iraq. So I was in Iran, and I knew they're going to close the border for 3 days to count the people. So I was in a rush. I was like, I want to be back in Iraq because I already felt a little bit uncomfortable in Iran, which you might understand now, you know, with everything that's happening. Already then it was a little bit of tension. So I was like, I don't want to stay in Iran, I need to make sure I get back to Iraq. So, and then it took a really long time, and then they gave me the wrong stamp, and they were like, you cannot leave Iran because it's the wrong stamp, and anyway, it was a whole thing. And then I finally reached Iraq, and it was already dark, and I couldn't make it to a hotel, and I also knew, like, now the country's gonna lock down, so wherever I end up now, I will be stuck there for 3 days. And then luckily, so I met this guy at the border who was like, oh, I'll help you. So I'm like, okay. And then he said, come stay in my mom's house. And they kind of thought that tourists would be able to travel freely, but no, of course not. So then I stayed 3 days with Mohammed and his mother in his house. And that's when we got a little bit bored after day one, so then Mohammed was like, let's go ride our bikes. And I was like, but we can't, like, it's all locked down. He's like, no, it will be fine. And that's also the reason why there was so much police in those episodes, because we were not allowed to do that. And then, oh, there's another story that I also didn't share. Okay, so what happened then? So Mohammed was like, I'm gonna take you to a really cool place in the mountains, right? That's where Saddam Hussein was like fighting with Iran, super cool. I was like, okay. So, and he's like, bring your drone. I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, you know, like, it's like the border area, that's usually not a great place to fly a drone. I was like, it's probably not allowed. He's like, no, we do it all the time. And somehow he convinced me, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll bring my drone. So I have the drone in this hip bag, and then we got stopped by the police, and they're like, we're gonna take you to the police station. So I was like, okay, why? I don't know. So they take my passport. So my passport is in a police car, riding in front, and Mohammed and I are riding behind. I have no idea where we're going. So then, yeah, they take us right into this police station, which is full of police and military. And they take me to like this room. And so I'm walking around in this police station, surrounded by like all these guys, with my freaking drone there. Oh no, why did I do this? They're gonna find it, they're gonna say, what's in the bag? And what I'm gonna say, So yeah, and then they questioned me a little bit, like, what are you doing here, you know? I was like, yeah, well, you know, I just came from Iran and, you know, I don't know what I'm doing here either.
Looking around.
Yeah, just, you know, being a tourist. And then luckily nobody asked me what was in the bag. They didn't find my drone. And then, since we managed to get through, I was like, well, might as well fly it then. So that's why there is drone footage in that video.
What was the Habib's mom's cooking like?
Oh, delicious. Oh man. Kebab in Iraq is...
Different to kebab in Stratford-upon-Avon.
It's nothing like you've ever had before. They really have the best kebab ever. Like, yeah, it's really yummy.
Does it feel special? It's happened to you a lot. Does it feel special every time you're welcomed into someone's home like that?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and like, and I also always feel like I don't want to film. If that happens, I usually don't film inside somebody's house, unless like sometimes if it's like a homestay and people are used to like having tourists or like it's a paid thing, then usually I can film. But if I'm invited like this, then I don't want to, you know, film the inside of their house and put it on the internet and for everybody to see. Like I feel like, you know, that's their, you know, that's their private home. So, but I so want to talk about it, you know. So I was like, oh, I wish I could, you know, show you how it was and how it looked like. But you know, there's boundaries and you gotta respect that.
I want to tell the world about this kebab. Next question. Of all the bikes you've ridden on your adventures, which was your favourite?
Yeah, the one that I was on at that time, you know. I think like Basanti will always be a very special motorcycle because that's the one, you know, that got it all started. So in that sense, you know, that's definitely a very big one. And then, of course, Alaska, the Honda CRF 300 Rally is also a very big one because that's the bike that I did by far the longest distance with. That was like, 65,000, I think I did 65,000 kilometers on that one. So yeah, that creates a bond, obviously. But now it's Frankie.
That's right. You're happy with Frankie?
Yeah, I'm happy with Frankie. Yeah.
Well, this is a handle on Instagram, press on regardless. What are your top tips for staying healthy on the road and avoiding food poisoning?
Unavoidable, yeah. I don't have any tips other than just, you know, if you're gonna do something like this, you're gonna get sick and you just go through it and deal with it. But yeah, I'm always, yeah, you can try prevent things, but I think it's better to have the mindset of accepting that things will go wrong, you will get sick, and just mentally prepare yourself for that. And then when it happens, you're like, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, I saw that coming. So.
My next question, I think, has got quite an obvious answer from Helen Rankin. Have you ever been scared on one of your trips?
Never! Me? No. Yeah, no, oh yeah, of course I've been scared. Yeah.
You might have turned yourself off at the bottom there. Just grab that.
Yes. It's not working. Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, hello. So, there has been moments where, you know, I like to do really remote stuff that you know I am the only person here in a diameter of, I don't know, 200 kilometers, right? That's a very special feeling. And I really like it. But sometimes when you are really in your mind confronted with it, it can really freak you out. And I remember that happened when I was crossing the Western Sahara. And I knew it's going to be 600 kilometers, of which the majority, there's no villages, there's no people, there is nothing. Maybe I bump into another traveler, but most likely not. And I felt like I did prepare myself properly for that. You know, I had an extra water bag. I was like, okay, I got water, I got fuel, I got the track, like, okay, let's go. And I felt pretty nervous in the beginning. I was like, okay, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. And then I started to relax, and I'm just riding. It's pretty flat, so you can't really see much. And I'm riding, and then I come across this one tiny little tree, and I thought, oh, this is a good time to have a little break. So I sat down under the tree, eat some dates, and I was like, oh, this is a good drone shot moment, right? So I fly up the drone, and then as I do that, and I fly really, I just see one dot, which is the tree and myself on the motorbike, and it's just one dot in just a sea of absolutely nothing. And only then you kind of really realize, like, oh man, there is nobody. And I mean, I have like this Garmin InReach, you know, that has saved me a few times. I've used it a few times when I had the accident in Africa, and like it's helped me a few times. But right there, even, you know, if you can use it, I was like, it's gonna take so long before somebody even finds me or gets here or whatever. So then you're just suddenly really consciously like, oh, okay, yeah, this better go right, you know. No, there's no room for error, don't make any mistakes. And just the rest of the day, I did not stop anymore at all. I was just on the gas and just kept on going until I saw one person, and then I was like, oh, there's a person. So yeah, I love solo travel until a certain extent. Sometimes it's really nice to see another human being.
Is that quite an exciting feeling, though, as well, knowing that the only person you've got to rely on in the world is you?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, and I talked a little bit, I think yesterday as well, like, that is such a rush, you know. It really gives you a rush to have this feeling like, okay, you're really on your own now. And that's a difference from like all the other travels I did before I started traveling on a motorbike. I was backpacking, so I was traveling with public transport, and then you're always with people. You never really find yourself truly alone. But I still thought, I am a solo traveler, look at me, I'm just traveling solo. But I only really started to realize what solo travel means is when I started traveling on a motorbike. You know, that obviously gives you the freedom to go wherever you want. You're not limited to where the bus goes or where the train goes. So suddenly you have this machine and all the freedom in the world to go wherever you want, and especially if you have a machine that can do off-road, you know, everything's on the table. So that gives such a incredible feeling of freedom, but at the same time, you know, it's also extremely terrifying sometimes when you get yourself to this remote place on your own, and you're like, yay, I made it, and then you're like, oh, I made it. You know, how am I going to make it out again? But yeah, it's that high. I remember the feeling after that day when I arrived into a hotel, and then you're just like, oh, it is the best feeling in the world when you've done it.
Was the reception clerk thinking, why is this woman so pleased to be here?
And I was also incredibly filthy and dusty, and they were kind of like, because they were kind of like, where did you come from? Like, I just literally popped out of the desert, and I was like, yeah, I made it. And they were like, where did you come from? Like, yeah.
So this next question is quite apt, and it's a common question that people will ask at dinner parties here in the UK, perhaps in the Netherlands too, which is if you could have dinner with anybody, who would it be? But we've got the Adventure Bikers version. So David Hemmen asked, he knows you travel solo, but if you could ride with anybody else, who would it be, alive or dead? Could be a biker, could be a celebrity, could be anybody.
I don't think I want to ride together with a corpse, but
If you could bring them back to life for a bike ride, that would be a power.
like the way I see travel is that it is really intense. So also it means that if you travel with somebody else, you're going to spend a lot of time together, and you're going to then suddenly have to make all the decisions together. So I would like to then, at least if I am riding with somebody else, I would like to ride with a good friend, you know, somebody who really knows you, and you know, you have a similar style of traveling. And as you know, I barely travel with other people. I try to keep it to a minimum. But you know, I've ridden together a few times with Charlie, my friend, and I would pick him also because he also runs a YouTube channel. So we both have that same, you know. Because if I would ride with someone else, it's really not fun to ride with me, you know, because I'm all the time like, you know, worried about the cameras and like changing batteries and like, you know, randomly narrating a story. So I would probably pick someone who does the same, and then you both are crazy.
Usually people in this country say Stephen Fry, who's a comedian, so I'm glad you didn't say that. But maybe Stephen Fry. Jay Henry would like to ask, of all the roads you've ridden, which one would you most love to ride again?
Probably, yeah, I think maybe again the primary highway, because that made such a big impression on me, and mostly because I was a really bad rider at the time. I'm still not really good, but then I was really bad. So, you know, that was that first journey, right? So it was for me the first time that I was really trying off-road, and you know, I had absolutely no skills. So that whole journey made a huge impression on me. So and I would like to go back as well, because I really believe that the videos could have been way better. So I would like to get a do-over and make like real good episodes about it.
Do you ever look back and think, oh gosh, I would like to go back there and let's redo that. I can do my drone shots so much better now.
Yeah, sometimes. But I mean, ultimately, I always prefer to explore a new place. I know the world is a very large place, and there's still a lot of places I've never been to that I really like to do. So I would first pick a new place, but if I really have to pick an old place, then come here.
And conversely to that, are there any roads that you just think, no, never going back again?
Oh, that road in Liberia with the mud. Oh man. But that was such a realization. Do you know which one I'm talking about? With like all the trucks that were stuck there for a month, you know? And it makes you realize, like, I was so lucky because, okay, the clutch got completely destroyed there, but you know, I got through it, but I just felt so sorry for the people who were just stuck there on a road that, it was a main road, you know? So sometimes I get accused of, like, on purpose, you know, trying to only ride bad roads. Sometimes this is true because it is more fun. But in this case, you know, it was quite a major road and just so difficult. So it was really hard to see that everybody was struggling there so much, and just machines getting broken and people having to camp literally in the middle of the forest for a month. So yeah, I wouldn't want to do that again.
Let's not go back there and get a
No.
new drone shot. Yeah, and kind of linked to that, Steiny has asked, what motivates you to keep going when things get really tough?
Well, so often I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Really. So yeah, I think you just have to keep going. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I do turn around. If I'm like, okay, this is too much or whatever, if I can turn around, I do. But in a lot of the cases, it's just not possible. There's one way, and you have to commit. If you start it, you have to finish it. So I don't think you really need motivation. You just realize it just has to be done, and you just gotta get on with it.
Just keep on going.
Just keep on going. Just don't think, just do.
You mentioned earlier you like to riding new places. Where's top of your bucket list?
Well, so I really want to go to Japan. Although, I think I maybe want to see Japan more for its culture, the food, you know, the site, because everybody's telling me that there's not a lot of off-road that you can do in Japan, so it might be more road-based. Plus, at this point, I don't even know if it's going to be possible to ride Japan with this motorcycle, because they have really strict rules if you bring in a foreign motorcycle. So I actually don't even know if it's going to be possible. It's going to be a bit of an anti-climax, because I've been shouting like, I'm riding to Japan! And then I might not ride there, but anyway, yeah, that's a country that I've always wanted to go. And I'm actually also really looking forward to Mongolia, because I have traveled in Mongolia before on a horse. I went with a horse and chasing like these, you have these reindeer nomad people that are just, nomadic people with a herd of reindeer, and they just roam around in Mongolia, and I went to see them with a horse then. But yeah, what I remember from that time, I would love to do on a motorcycle, so I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Have you been to Australia yet?
Yeah, I live there and work there.
Then you've very much experienced it. Any plans to go and film there?
I don't know, because for me, Australia, it's a really cool place, and they have amazing riding and amazing places, but I am always like, I always have the mindset of the video making. Like, I'm always thinking about the content. Sorry, this is really boring, but it is like that. So in my view, I'm like, I know from Australia that distances are huge, and you're gonna have to cross huge distances with flat terrain, like nothing really much. And my format is basically one day, one video. Okay, I don't always make that. Sometimes I do need 2 days to have enough story to tell for one video, but the basic format is what I do in one day is one video. And I just really worry if I go there that there's nothing happening.
You need to have a chat with Adam Reeman. see if he can give you any tips of places to go.
Okay, maybe he can, if he can convince me, I will go.
I think he'll probably go riding with you. If that'd be a very cool mashup. Adam
And
Reeman,
he's a
Vinci
filmmaker
Boots.
as well, so yeah, maybe.
He's a damn good filmmaker, isn't he? Yeah. That's all right. We're not taking questions from the audience at the moment, but okay. I think people would like to hear from Noralie rather than yourself. Can we ask this chap? Well, we do have 3 minutes left. I was hoping to speak to Noralie a little bit more. We'd like to hear from her. So I don't know if this chap could
disappear.
Chap could leave. Apologies, guys. Just be a moment. Thank you for your patience. Apologies for that.
No worries.
I think people are probably going a real thrill having their questions asked to you. We did put the call out a while ago. I've got one. In that they say travel is the best education. It helps you grow. How do you think you've changed over the years of travelling the world?
I don't know. maybe you feel that I've changed since. Well, I've definitely gone older and I have grey hairs now. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think for me it's mainly the difference between traveling. Like the mode of traveling really makes a huge difference for me. So like you must also experience this, you know, when you're on a motorcycle, and I think especially if you're on your own, if you're with a group, it's a bit different, you know. People don't usually tend to approach a group of people. But if you're on your own, and because you're on a motorcycle, instead of a car which is completely closed, you are very approachable, you know, and if you open your visor, people must start talking to you too, right? Yeah, so for me, that you know, besides, you know, the obvious love that we all have for motorcycles, for me it's like traveling on a motorcycle it has to be the best way to travel, you know, because it's so easy to interact with people and meet new people, and there's always something to talk about, especially if that person also likes motorcycles. So I think for me it's only like over the years I've just really started to appreciate that more, like how freaking awesome it is to travel around on a motorcycle. Woo!
And I'm assuming many people have been inspired to ride by Noralie here? You are, wow, we've got a new rider. You are an inspiration, and I know sometimes it does feel a little bit overwhelming to you, and you've said that to me in the past. But if you could give a message out there to people looking to go out and embark on their own adventures, what would it be?
Yeah, well, why are you waiting? Tell me, like, what is holding you back? But yeah, I don't know. I've never had that feeling of like something is holding me back. If I want something, I go and do it. You know, so yeah, what are you waiting for? I mean,
if you want one of those kebabs, you got to go back to Iraq and get it.
Go to Iraq and get a good kebab.
Noralie, I'm afraid we are out of time. It's been an absolute privilege and so enjoyable to hear about your travels. Now, you are signing copies of your book, that's right. So to the right of Noralie, this side, if you would like to buy a copy of Free Ride, you can buy one there. And then Noralie, then please loop around, because Noralie will be over on the left-hand side, the right-hand side of the stage, over here signing them. So all that's left to say is thank you so much. Everyone, give it up!